Thank you for joining us. This is Paul Wilson, and you're listening to Diesel Performance Podcast. Hey guys, thanks for checking in today. We got a really exciting episode, and I can't wait to dive into it and talk with Derek and Morgan, who are the guests that we're going to be hearing about a really cool LB7 build. But for right now, I also wanted to talk a little bit about making some of the passes and doing some of the racing that we've done recently with our Draggy. So the Draggy is a little GPS performance data logger that will allow you to connect with your phone, so with your smartphone using their Draggy Connect app, and actually record an 8th mile run. Now you can hook up the camera on your video to also record the video of yourself doing this. I'd like you guys to shoot that camera out the front windshield, of course, so we could see the run. Really, really cool stuff. A really fun toy just to play with. And they only cost like $150. If you need one, we got a few here at the shop. You can contact us. Otherwise, you can get them from anybody. A ton of people sell these things. So feel free to get any of them. Want to see those 8th mile passes getting made. Now, we've built out a couple of classes. You guys have heard me talk about those. We have the Dinosaur class, the Stealth Turbo class, the WC Fab Big Turbo class, the Exergy Unlimited class, and of course the Emissions Equipped class. So I went out and I ran my 2012 BMW X5 35D. I know that's a stupid name for a car, but I drive it anyways. And I was able to put down a quick 10-second pass for my 8th mile time. Now that's not a fast time, guys, by any means. What was fun, though, was how quickly I figured it out with no instructions, and that just means that it's totally dummy-proof. So if you're a little bit intimidated by technology, don't worry. This is very, very simple, very easy to use, and it honestly was just straight-up fun. So I've gotten a few other passes in. Thank you to Kelsey Epp for now making this an international competition, coming in from Canada with a great run. I know Richard Coker, last year's Diesel Performance Challenge winner, was out making a couple of passes, not in the LBZ. He was out making them in the Denali. And then, of course, Jamie Curley made that run in his LML. Tim Mahoney, big shout out to Tim. You guys have heard him on the show before. He's got a 2020 Power Stroke, so he went out and did his first hot lap in it. So just really excited to see this thing grow. I really want to see as many of you as we can get out there, make a pass, be a part of the competition. Even if you don't think your truck is necessarily going to be the fastest thing in the country or the fastest thing in North America, it's still going to be a lot of fun, and we'd love to see as many people as possible. Just come out and participate. Oh, and I believe also KJ Jones, big shout out to KJ. I believe he is out running his 7.3 in the Dinosaur class, so we are excited to see that. Guys, with your older trucks, please don't forget the Dinosaur class. Somebody with a 12 valve, I think, is bound to win that class. But if nobody enters, who knows, man? Maybe a 7.3 takes it home. Who knows? Anything could happen. Speaking of our sponsors and our classes, of course, Exergy Performance, always leading the way with our high-performance fuel systems. Anytime we're looking at even just doing a stock replacement, we're always going to go into a Sportsman model from Exergy, which is our basic honing or our basic mild upgrade. You could drop them into a stock truck. You don't have to adjust anything in the tune for their Sportsman line, but it is going to give you an increased performance, and they do have tighter tolerances than what the original OEM does, so you're actually getting a better than factory injector. Of course, that's also true all the way up into their insane 500% over or whatever some of you crazy nuts out there are running these days. Along with that, we want to match that up with some really solid turbo options. We want to match that up with some really solid traction bars or just some other simple kind of dress stuff, throw a new coolant tank on it, a custom fabbed coolant tank. And of course, you guys know we're going to go to WC Fab for all of that. Now, being here at Duramax Tuner day in and day out, guys, I get a chance to see a lot of really cool LB7 builds. That's one of the amazing luxuries of my job. If you're interested in having a job like that, we do have a couple of open positions over at Duramax Tuner and Calibrated Power. So we're looking for a sales guy. We're looking for a customer service guy. If you love people, you love diesel, shoot us an email. You can let me know. That's going to be Jamie, Jamie, at calibratedpower.com. He'd be taking care of any of your hiring inquiries. For today, the LB7 builds, I bring them up because I got a chance to talk with, I think, probably the most excited LB7 owner I've ever spoken to, Derek Wreesman, who's an absolute blast. You know what? You guys are just going to love this interview. Let's kick it over to myself talking to Derek right now. All right, guys, and now it's time for my favorite part of the show. This is where we get to have you, the listener, onto the show to actually talk with myself or Chris about your truck and your build and what some of your goals are and what some of your plans are. And hey, I always like to hear about where you got started. So without any further ado, today we have on Derek Wreesman.
Yeah.
I said with total confidence, Derek Wreesman, how the hell are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Derek, I'm really excited to talk about your truck. We've already kind of gotten started here. So I know we're going to dive in for the listeners and just kind of go as deep as we can on this backstory and what your plan is. But I know you're also sitting over at a shop with Morgan from Ultimate Truck Performance. Morgan, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day in Southern California. That's about all I could say. Having a diesel shop in here, everything's good. So let's all we can do is smile, but everything's good. Thank you. How you guys doing over there?
I dig it. Hey, I'm doing great. It is middle of the week. I'm in Midwest Illinois, and it's also beautiful weather. It's a great day to have your truck out and have some fun with it. Guys, if you haven't done so already, get yourself a draggy and go out and make an 8th mile pass so you can get into the Diesel Performance Podcast draggy competition. And I promise that won't be the only time I plug the competition in this episode. Now, Derek, we were talking a little bit about, this is kind of the build we're going to be talking about, the truck we're going to be talking about today has kind of been a long process, but I think you got a great start in diesel performance. Tell our listeners all about it. Where did your beginnings come from?
So I needed a crew cab long bed. My wife and I had a big cab over camper, and my single cab 454 1991 Chevy wasn't cutting it anymore. So I found my LB7, exactly what I needed, crew cab long bed, lots of miles on it, roughly 340,000 when I got it. But, reading the post, the guy, was pretty in tune with his truck and everything. It was kind of one of the standard Craigslist ads that you see for an LB7. What I've learned now, 60,000 miles ago, the injectors replaced, had a few parts on it, had the lift pump, built trans, and some tuning, and advertised as 550 real horsepower, which I learned was not the case. But anyway, it was a good start. And once I felt that tuned LB7, though, I was hooked. And that's what got me kind of interested in this. And I it was tuned by you guys with your jack tuning. So that's how I found the podcast. And once I found the podcast, it was like game on. Went back to very, very early episodes, listened to your episode with KDP and her LB7. And this build is very much so modeled after that episode, with the exception of a little bit less fuel and less air. But just from the bottom end being built all the way through the rest of the motor, that's kind of what inspired this build. And the process has taken about a year to get this going. And obviously COVID hasn't helped that, with some difficulty getting parts and just that supply chain being a little bit interrupted, but not so bad to the point where we can't do it. That time frame's also given me the ability to afford doing this build. As everyone knows, these parts are not cheap. And in my mind, I was like, I don't want to fire this thing up without everything being right. With the cab being off of it, I don't want to have to go back and do something over again. So let's do it right the first time. And that's been my mindset throughout this build. And what's cool is Morgan has had that same mindset, but also he's not going to sell me something I don't need. And there's been several times where maybe my eyes were bigger than my stomach and I wanted to do something. He's kind of pulled the reins and said, hey, you don't need that. But, if you want this reliable daily driver that happens to probably be close to 800 horsepower, then yeah, we can do this. And so that's been a fun part to the point where I'm not necessarily micromanaging the build, but he's able to give me input. And what's been awesome is the research I do, and listening to your podcast and some of the other podcasts, I'll come in all excited about learning about something and he'll back up what you guys have said. And that's been one of the cool things that I've been able to do. And our relationship has been built on just kind of like that mutual, information gathering and just learning about this. And he's been doing it for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And
too long.
It's been
awesome.
Yeah.
I never considered it a job, I guess. That's the fun part, I'm still, I still, as a small shop owner, I still get up every morning and I still enjoy it. There's the ups and downs of being a shop owner, but at the most part, dealing with great customers like Derek and customers who really appreciate the art and the time and the talent, between the techs that work on the truck and the knowledge, and you put a package together and make customers really happy. I share, I share stories for years of things that have gone wrong to get to where you're at today, as far as bills. Oh, it's pretty wild. But that's for a whole nother time. But yeah, for sure. I'm excited. Derek's truck's coming out, shaping up really good.
I love that, man. Yeah, this is, I think, a really exciting build, and I want to get listeners on board with what we're dealing with here. So, Derek, you have the 03 LB7. You got it how long ago?
I got it 2 years ago, right at the beginning of 2018. And I brought it in for heads and injectors, and I'm leaving with a fully built. It was 2-wheel drive. It's coming out 4-wheel drive. This basically, if it could be touched, it's been touched on this truck.
So let's run through it. Now I got built bottom end listed here. Tell me about what went into that, into the engine itself.
So Morgan can speak more to the block was pulled and honed and inspected.
Yeah, the block was sent to the machine shop. Everything was line board and honed and deck plate and everything. Then we went and had the crank. We had SoCal do some work on the crank. They broached the crank and all that for the keyway. Then we got a set of what was it? Which
we got the Waggler rods.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Waggler rods, brand new Molly standard pistons,
fly cut
by industrial injection and ceramic coated.
Yep.
SoCal cam. Yeah, SoCal alternate firing cam.
Set of we have a guy, that local head guy that does a lot of my porting. He did like a stage 2, basically, like port job in this thing. He spent a lot of hours on we've probably next go, I would have been CNC'd, but his stuff is, he's kind of a perfectionist, and it just like, every time I see that, I go, man, that's just sexy. How amazing, how much airflow it is to be had in those
Sure.
heads, and they're, we started with new heads. And it's funny. I'll go back, and it's funny when Derek first brought his truck here. It was supposed to be a real simple head gasket job, and we see that someone's been in the heads before. The heads were so worn out. Someone's already decked 10,000 off his original heads.
Oh.
The block, the thing was just like just a disaster, and you open it, and it started as a simple job, and look where we're at today,
Now, has it been in and out of the shop over the 2 years, or is it, and I've had builds like this here at Duramax Tuner where somebody drops it off and it never ends. The build list keeps going.
Yeah. I drove it for a little over a year, and that's when I brought it in. It just started having the symptoms, coolant would leak. It would have the, it would sit there and run at about 140 degrees and then shoot up to 250 and then come back down to 180. All that stuff where I'm like, what is going on with this thing? Oh, it must have a bad thermostat.
Yeah, that's what they always think. They always think it's a thermostat. It's amazing.
Why is my coolant reservoir black? I don't know.
It's not the no. It's funny, when we were going to just do heads and be done, and then I really started looking at this block, and I saw you could actually see at the head gaskets how many times they've kind of warped, and then how everything was just messed up, and I looked and I found a cracked piston, didn't I? Found a cracked piston in this thing, and this thing is a complete game changer now. Now it's not saying either, Derek, you want to step up and go do a stock rebuild, or you want to make some power and let's go to this direction. And he went from there, and this is where we're at today.
Now you jumped in with the fuel and the air side too. So everyone knows I love a twin kit. So we got an S475 over 63 mil stock appearing Charger, which is a badass daily driver kit. That was like our staple for a long time here at Duramax Tuner, was exclusively working on that setup. What attracted you to going with the 475 instead of upping it to like a 488 or a 483?
Just the amount of fuel that I wanted to throw at. I didn't want to go more than 60% over on fuel, and we were actually going to just run that 63 millimeter on stock fuel.
Sure.
And then one thing led to another. I'm like, oh man, I got this great idea to go compounds, and like every episode I would listen to on your podcast, you hear about like people that go with a big single to go out and start off with, and then it's like, but if I could go compounds from the start, I would have. So I'm like, okay.
I'll throw this maybe in the mix. Derek will probably. We have several compound Duramaxes here from some couple of LLYs. My other tech here did a LML. That was a 15 Denali we did, and then we had Eugene's the LBZ. And I think after giving Derek a ride in a couple of those trucks, and he was like I said, look, no smoke. Look how it accelerates. Look at the mid range power is phenomenal. Just a pull.
Yeah.
Where you could daily drive this thing without EGTs through the roof, and you can put your family in this thing. And the idea is to you can build a truck where I believe is not practical, but this is going to be. It has to be practical when you put your family in it. Because
right.
Nothing happier when you're on the side of the road and your wife's like, "I told you not to do this."
Yeah.
I've been there many times.
Oh, trust me. My wife sees what I'm doing, and she's constantly like, "Wait, you have a truck?" And I'm like, "Thanks, babe. Thanks." Yeah, I know it's been a while. But just listening to that, just that S475 over stock, and I wanted to replace my factory turbo just because it was 350,000 miles old.
It's easier days.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like, why not? We're there. Let's take this thing off now, just in case I shear a bolt in my driveway, and now I'm really screwed.
Oh, the shaft plate was unbelievable on it.
But I had the opportunity to get this turbo. It's brand new in a box. A guy was going to do a build on his LB7, decided not to, so I was able to kind of grab this turbo brand new in the box, and it kind of just built off of that. But we went with that pusher intakes.
Yeah.
S475 kit. The Jacob over at Pusher was just absolutely awesome with his, that's one thing I've learned through this build is people in this diesel industry are passionate about what they do, and they're stoked to talk to you about what you're doing. They want to hear about your build. They don't just want to sell you something. And I think that's been one of the things that has kind of lit my fire off and gotten me more and more excited is seeing people's passion and hearing people's passion about their trucks and their builds and what they do, that you're not just buying something, that's something that you're going to be really happy with. And so I went with their kit, and I'm excited to see how it runs.
One of the things I'd like to just point out real quick is in the shop, when I always tell the customer, at the end of the day, it's their money, so you want to put their money where they feel comfortable putting their money, where their mouth is. So I just go, here's options, I'll put it on the table, and we talk to people, and people, some people are very enthusiastic. Some people are like, hey, it's just a job for them. And when you have people who are really excited about builds, and like, so actually you have a customer who's excited about builds, you put the customer, he's more involved versus just, one day you hand him a bill and a key and here you go, that to me as a shop owner, to me, that's what makes it more exciting, is the fact that Derek's is, almost just hands-on involved in this thing to a point. So he gets I give him options of different parts, manufacturers, and who he should or try to deal with. Like I said, it's all up to him. He likes to do the research, and we work at it together. And like I said, and he's seen a few other trucks we built here for customers, and I think he's fairly happy.
Guys, I love to hear what you're saying. I think that passion of not just the truck owner, but everybody involved, right? It's Morgan there at the shop. It's the guys at Pusher. It's the guys at Duramax Tuner. It's the guys who you talk to in the industry, where it does feel like a community. It does feel like we all want to see badass trucks. I mean, really, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah. I laughed because I took a ride. Morgan took me for a ride in an LOY with that S475 over stock, and I'm like, sold on an LOY. Awesome. I hate LOYs. I think they're so beat. I think they're awful. I can't stand LOYs and I can't stand LMMs, but I love Duramaxes, and I'll still drive one of those over a Power Stroke.
Yeah, one day I'm going to put them in the 7.3 just to make them feel bad.
Now I drove a 7.3 for a while there. It started every single day. That is the best thing I can say about that truck, because nothing else about it was fun.
Well, and the way they look, I mean, there's, to me, there's no better looking truck than that OBS Ford. They're just so cool. And I have a little dream to put an LB7 in one, but
we're talking about that. Oh my God. Yeah, we should. We're like going, I'm tired of the Cummins conversions. Let's do something different.
I like it. I like it. That's right. Well, now Morgan, you work on a lot of Ford, so Cummins conversions are just a part of that, right?
Yes, absolutely. We've done several for the years, and yes, definitely Cummins conversions with guys with their 6.0s and 6.4s, and they're just tired of them, and they want something reliable. But it just the thing is, I think conversions are awesome. It's funny, but I go, hey, if you want a Cummins, go buy a Dodge. It feels like driving a Dodge truck now. It takes the whole. But I'm all about doing that OBS. Me and Derek are talking about doing OBS, doing an LB7. I'm going to do one day, just to
I
do
love
one,
it.
to be different.
Well, I'll tell you from experience
Why
here at
not?
Duramax Tuner, where we did the Duramax in 59 Apache, and we have the Duramax in the Hummer, and we have the Duraburb, and we had the square body Scottsdale, right, with the Duramax.
That's cool.
All those are really, really cool builds when they're done and somebody else paid for them.
Yeah.
There you go, right
if
there.
those two
That's
things
what I'm
aren't
thinking. I'm
true,
like,
you might not feel the same way about them. I would say Nick, now they're all company trucks, right? Nick loves those trucks. Like those are the vehicles that will never get sold. He has a passion for it, right?
Yep.
So like when he looks at them, it's like when your wife talks about having a second kid and you're like, do you remember diapers? Like, do you remember childbirth? And they're like, no, I just remember a baby. Like, that's kind of how you have to see your truck when you're done with the build, where you're like,
Right.
I just
Kind
love
of.
it. I don't remember all that terrible shit that I went through to get it.
Absolutely. Time just flew by. You forgot all the bad stuff. It's like, you get in, you go down the road, the window's down, and you get the big, grin in your face, and like nothing else in life matters. That's kind of like
That's it,
where
man.
that.
Now,
in the background too.
now, Derek, throughout this, I love that you had mentioned that it was kind of a blessing in disguise that it took you more time than expected to get through this build, because it lets you kind of space out being able to afford all the parts. Because like you said, every time you turn around, it's another large investment into the truck. At the end of this, you're going to get the truck back. You're going to get it on the road. What are you going to do with it?
I'm gonna probably baby it because it's been so expensive and so time consuming, But no, I honestly can't wait. I mean, at 33 years old, I'm gonna finally have a truck that I wanted in high school. Something that, I've got black powder coated rims on 35s, and I've wanted that since high school. But I'm the guy that like I want to be responsible about it. I don't want to cause a wreck. I don't want to do anything that is gonna hurt anyone else or the diesel industry, because that's one of those things I told Morgan. I'm like, we need to talk on the podcast, guys. Stop rolling coal on Teslas and Priuses. You're making us look like idiots, and if you really want to get everything taken away for good, keep doing it.
Yeah, come on. But we're in Southern California, like like the environmentalists from the world, like they you can't even, like, I want to say fart without even like having someone throw a fit. So you just got to watch, the guys here, everyone rides bicycles and everyone thinks it's funny to just roll coal on bicyclists. You got to be realistic about that stuff. That'll make our industry look bad. And, I think we have a great community. We just got to like all band together and just really, make this a better community, which, I think is possible.
Absolutely. And I think it's moving in the right direction. I'm seeing less and less of that type of nonsense on social media, at least on my feed. But what I love is I think guys are starting to get on board with, we want to go fast. We want to have a lot of power. We don't give a fuck about smoke.
No,
being smoky doesn't
Yeah.
benefit you. What we want is the truck to run a certain way. We want the truck to feel a certain way. We want to get that exhilaration of being out in the truck. Who cares if there's smoke? Like, if smoke equaled more power and a better driving truck, I would have a different opinion about smoke. But I know that the more smoke we have, the bigger of a problem we have to solve. So, like, to me, it's not that I want or don't want smoke. Smoke's a byproduct of a problem. I don't want problems. That's it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely right about that.
Yeah. As far as me though, I would, I want to get just more and more in tune with this truck. I would love to be able to take it to the track and just see what it's able to do now that it's going to be 4-wheel drive, being able to, just even learn how to do a 4-wheel launch. I've never done it before, so like it's going to be definitely a learning curve for me. And obviously I can't just jump into that. I need to learn about some things, but I would love to take this thing to the track and just see what I can do in like a, in that arena. I watch videos left and right of a Duramax versus a Challenger or Charger, and they're running nitrous, and this thing's just basically running a setup like I have, and it's just leaving them in their dust. And I'm like, that looks like fun. So
that's always for the last, I say 20 years, there's always been a blast from where you can pull up next to a car and just spank them. And well, you're in a truck, a diesel truck on top of that. I just like, it just mind boggles people who don't understand about the industry or what the capabilities of these trucks are. It doesn't matter what brand, they all have their potential, so if you could bring the best in everything, I think that's that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
7,500
pounds smoking 3,000 pounds is pretty cool.
Exactly.
I dig that. I dig that a lot. Hey, Derek, who would you like to give a shout out to throughout this build process?
I mean, ultimate truck performance here in Oxnard for sure. These guys, Morgan and his staff, are top-notch guys. I mean, I've made friends with them. We got Miguel, one of the techs here, and he's the tech that's actually working on my truck. He's the one that's got the hands on my truck. And, like being able to, I can literally come here on any given day at any given time and see just about anyone here at the shop and have a conversation. And it's just that's what's been awesome about this whole thing. What I've learned over the last year, just knowing these guys and getting to know these guys and becoming friends with these guys has been amazing. Shout out to you guys, specifically Joey Elson in your sales department. There's been several times I've called in. He's the one who found my original tune files, was able to get everything squared away for me, super fast, super knowledgeable about your products. Just a great guy. Another one that I'd call him to figure out what I was going to do with my ECM. And, I ended up having to get a new one before I know it, him and I had been talking for like 30 minutes, just about my truck and my build. And that's been such a fun thing about this whole process is that, pusher intakes for their service, industrial injection has been absolutely amazing. Fleece with my turbo setup. Everyone that I've worked with, all the companies that I've bought parts from have just been absolutely awesome. Like Jesse, I can't, we got a guy, he fabs out of Morgan's shop, Jesse.
Kid's amazing.
Absolutely awesome. These guys are absolute wizards here. And, Jesse will be watching out for Hofer Built Fabrication.
Oh yeah. One day we're going to build him his own shop.
Well, that's great, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today, Derek and Morgan. I really appreciate you guys taking out some time and sharing your story about your build with us. I'm excited to see this thing on the road. So as soon as we get this thing together, please, I need some videos. I need some pictures. I want to see it run.
Oh, yeah, I'll do a full video review on it, and I'll try to get back in touch with you, and hopefully even maybe come back on the show and just kind of talk about how it is on the road.
I think that'd be great. So, well, guys, for today, this is Paul Wilson reminding you that the Diesel Performance Podcast Draggy competition is live and active. Get on over to our Facebook group, the Fans of Diesel Performance Podcast, or even the page. We have a post pinned up there where you can actually submit your entry and then post your video right on that link. So we would really appreciate that. Great job to Kelsey Epp leading her class so far. And of course, myself with the BMW running out that missions equipped class. So look out. Let's get some competitors out there and see where we can take this. Have a great day. Justin, you'll want to edit all of this silence out. I hit record too soon and didn't actually ask our guest if they were ready. I just said, let's do it. So bad.